1.5 length lead. Gormley wins the front runner. Gormley takes the lead, and Gormley wins the Santa Anita Derby.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Spa Babies, presented by Spendthrift Farm. I'm Dan Illman, along with Nicole Russo, and let's throw up the field for Thursday's Spa Baby race at Saratoga, race number 3. We kick off a 50-cent pick 4 with 2-year-old fillies going 1 1/16 on the melon turf. 7 are entered. Christophe Clement has 2 in this race, and it's a really interesting group with some nice pedigrees, Nicole.
I think so, yeah. And there's a lot of nice pedigrees that definitely lend themselves to going longer. I love these 2-year-old races going long on the turf here at Saratoga. They're always interesting puzzles. And I think this race in particular has some fun pedigrees to pick apart looking at this challenge.
One of them from the one, Aunt Mary. This is a daughter of Animal Kingdom, who of course won the Kentucky Derby, but also very, very capable on the turf and a good first turf sire as well. This is a productive dam as well. She won a couple of turf races, and she's already foaled Bankit, who is a quality 2-year-old and has been a nice horse on the dirt. But as you see, there's also a good mixture of turf on the bottom of this family. This barn has sent out a 2-year-old debut winner sprinting this year, I believe at Delaware Park.
Yeah, and you mentioned an interesting mix in the female family. You go further back in that family and you find champions Action This Day and Dre Fong, an English champion and Biddy Girl. You find Grade 1 winner and classic sire Bodie Meister. Really a mix of speed and stamina and turf and dirt in that female family. You mentioned Animal Kingdom, a multi-surface runner. In my opinion, his best race came on the turf behind Wise Dan in the Breeders' Cup Mile, and now his best runners have come on the turf.
A nice foundation for this filly from a work standpoint. She has been working regularly since the beginning of May. The number 2 is Anamuya, going out for Wesley Ward. Now, we know that Wesley Ward is just a wizard with 2-year-old first-time starters, but maybe if there is a weakness, it's with turf horses going 2 turns. This horse has a nice pedigree. Talk about a productive dam. She's thrown La Troyenne winner Big World, Gresida, a stakes place dirt router. The dam is a half to a nice turf horse, Tensis Yucatan. This filly is by Dialed In, a pretty underrated stallion.
Yeah, I think so. He was one of the better freshman sires of his class that year. He does well with his first-time starters. I think the statistic is there. He's a 15% first turf sire. This is another one with a nice long work tab. It's a tall order for a debut starter to go 2 turns without the foundation of a prior start. But this one, it looks like a nice long work tab to put some foundation into her. Shows plenty of turf works, including a bullet at the end of June. Again, I always encourage you, check out the Clocker reports produced by our colleague Mike Welsh and others to really give you some insight into how these first-time starters have been training.
One of the horses with a stout pedigree that should really appreciate the 2 turns is up next. That's the number 3, Mo Normal, one of the 2 Christophe Clement trained first-time starters by Uncle Mo. The Uncle Mo's can do anything, 15% with juvenile debut runners and with first turf sires. But the dam was a Grade 3 stakes winner as a 2-year-old going long on the turf. And as you see, a lot of class, a lot of distance, and the Clement barn firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, they're off to a very strong start at this meet with a couple of graded winners over opening weekend. Uncle Mo, as you said, they just run on anything. They're just athletes. I think they would run over broken glass if you asked them to. The dam New Normal, as you mentioned, was very good. A lot of stamina in that extended female family. And you're crossing Uncle Mo over a forestry mare. Well, all that produced was Nyquist, who, of course, won the Kentucky Derby after a championship season as a 2-year-old. It's a cross that produces precocity.
Stunning Princess is up next, and she might be one of the sleepers in this race, going out for Danny Gargan, who sent out that run-happy first-time starter to a solid third-place finish in one of our Spa Babies races earlier in the meet. Stunning Princess is by Cairo Prince. She sold for $95,000 as a yearling, and she's a half-sister to a runner that was grade 3 placed on the turf. I think there are some solid workouts here. I like that last half-mile breeze on the turf at Saratoga. I wish there was a 5 furlong workout, maybe to get some stamina into Stunning Princess, but I think she's going to run well and outrun her odds.
You know, she really could. And Cairo Prince by Pioneer of the Nile. Cairo Prince, a bit of one of those hidden turf sires. He's done well on the turf. You look at how good American Pharaohs runners are doing on the turf, and that's just one example of the Pioneer of the Nile line coming through with some turf runners. Cairo Prince certainly fits that mold. You mentioned that this one's a half to Summer to Remember, who was graded placed routing on the turf. Also some 2-year-old ability in the family with Classic Elegance and others.
Let's move on to the number 5, Uptown Flirt, a first-time starter trained by Bill Mott. By First Crop sire Speightster, this filly has gone through the auction ring 3 times, most recently in March, selling for $100,000 after breezing 2 furlongs in 21-3. How do you think the Speightsters will perform going long on the turf? He was a quick horse.
Well, he was a quick horse. I don't think it's out of the question for them to go a bit longer. Speightster did win the Dwyer, I believe, at a bit of a longer distance, although it was around 1 turn at Belmont. His sire, Speightstown, a good multi-purpose, multi-surface sire. So I don't think it's out of the question. But my overall impression of this horse, knowing Bill Mott's reputation, knowing that he likes to give his young horses a start, considering the stamina in the female side of this family, I wonder if this one is here to get her feet wet. The opportunities to go long usually first show up on turf at this meet. I wonder if Mott wants to get this one a bit of a foundation going a distance, and if this one will show up routing on the dirt later on in the meet or later on in her career.
Number 6, Plum Ali, is the second Christophe Clement-trained first-time starter in this race. She is by First Samurai. This is a rock-solid pedigree, maybe not the stamina influences that are seen in the other Clement-trained bloodlines of the 3 Mo Normal, but Plum Ali is a rock-solid pedigree. I won't be surprised at all if she gets this mile and a 16th on the turf, and there is some class here on the bottom of the female family as well. She's by First Samurai.
Yeah, and First Samurai, a good juvenile sire. He's had executive privilege and others. A good turf sire, really a multi-purpose sire by Giants Causeway, over a mare by the good turf router Stroll. As you mentioned, this is the other Clement horse, and I wonder if this one might offer you some value compared to her stablemate and might be able to work out a trip drawn more toward the outside of this smallish field.
Completing the group is the number 7, Lost Lake, and she's notable because she's the only horse in the race with prior racing experience, and that is a big advantage in these races with 2-year-olds. She's by Noble Mission. We know Noble Mission can get a turf horse. The dam was multiple stakes placed on turf overseas. The dam has also foaled 1 turf winner, and this filly goes out for Graham Motion. You got to look at that career debut going short on the dirt at Monmouth, Nicole, and to me, it just looked like an educational run. Get a race under her belt and get her ready for Saratoga. She's a New Jersey bred.
Yeah, and I don't think she ran terribly on debut, checking in 5th, 4.5 furlongs on dirt, certainly not what she wants to ultimately do. Getting a race under her belt, especially that sprint, that ought to have tightened her up a bit as she moves forward, going long against these other first-time starters. Noble Mission, obviously a champion stayer in Europe, and, his best runner, Code of Honor, who certainly wants to go long.
Well, let's take a look at our top selections for Thursday's Spa Babies race. Our coverage, of course, presented by Spendthrift Farm. And you're going to go with Lost Lake, the experienced runner in the race. I think you're going to get value, and you're also getting Jose Ortiz.
Yeah, I mean, as we've mentioned a couple times throughout this program here, going 2 turns on debut, a tall order for juveniles. I think some of these are bred to go a distance and will benefit from the experience, getting a little foundation here. But in the meantime, I will stick with the horse whose experience now, Lost Lake. I do think that debut will have tightened her up, and now she's doing what she ultimately wants to do, probably going long on the turf. Behind her, I would look to some combination of Clement's duo of Mo Normal and Plum Ali, both well-bred for a barn that has started the meet well, and Ward's Anamuya, who, as I mentioned, I like that work tab preparing her for this challenge.
I like the stamina and the 3 Mo Normals pedigree, and I'll concentrate my pick 4 play with my top 2 selections, the 3 Mo Normal, the 4 Stunning Princess, going out for Danny Gargan with a nice turf workout. Aunt Mary's a little bit interesting for me. Perhaps I'd use her on the bottom of single race exotics and as a backup in my early pick 4. Nicole is going 7, 3, 2, and 6. I'm going 3, 4, 1, and 6. It's a competitive edition of Spa Babies, and our coverage is presented by Spendthrift Farm.